UK.
Grim scenes emerge across Kharkiv. Fire, shattered glass, and rescuers digging through rubble amid cries of despair. This was a Russian drone strike on a 5-story apartment block.
They hit an ordinary apartment block. Many flats, many families were living here. Small children, children's playground, residential compound. There are no offices here or anything else. We lived here peacefully in our homes.
Just hours later, a separate wave of Russian missiles rained down on Zaporizhia, far to the south, causing devastation.
Many people ran around, all in panic. There were a lot of injured people, and there were a lot of blood and tears. Well, and the aftermath.
At first, shrapnel flew around everywhere as there was a horrible explosion. We then ran out of the shop. Katya told me, "Olena, we have to flee." And after a few minutes, there was one more horrible explosion.
With thunderous force, Russia's military has unleashed a new wave of precision strikes across Ukraine, zeroing in on the heart of Kyiv's missile program. According to reports, the Sapsan ballistic missile storage hub, a system that Ukraine built with German funding, was destroyed. The attack that is part of a wider series of military operations marks a significant setback for Kyiv's fighting capabilities. Moscow also claims that it carried out massive strikes on temporary deployment sites of Ukrainian armed forces and foreign mercenaries. Ukrainian forces have continued their long-range drone attacks on various Russian targets. Ukraine claims attacks on a train station serving as a critical logistics hub for Russian military ammunition transport in Voronezh region. Russian air defense forces shot down 300 Ukrainian drones. The fighting remains fierce, with reports of Russian forces making gains in Donetsk, tightening their grip on the region as the conflict rages on. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
We start off with some breaking news coming in from Russia. As President Trump prepares to welcome Ukrainian and European leaders to the White House, Russia has flexed nuclear muscle with strategic bomber patrols near U.S. shores. Russian Tupolev Tu-95MS long-range missile bombers conducted a patrol over the neutral Barents Sea, stirring alarm in Washington as Moscow showcases its military reach. The Russian Defense Ministry confirmed the 4-hour sortie supported by Su-33 Navy fighters, reaffirming the Tu-95M's cruise routine patrols of international waters in the Arctic, North Atlantic, Pacific, Baltic, and Black Seas. Despite being a Cold War relic, this formidable turboprop-powered bomber remains a backbone of Russia's strategic air force, capable of projecting nuclear force half a century after its debut. Moscow insists these flights fully comply with international airspace rules, defending its right to freedom of navigation, yet the timing raises questions, coming as Trump hosts key allies to discuss the Ukraine crisis. The U.S. military has tracked similar Russian incursions near Alaska multiple times, with 4 Russian warplanes detected off U.S. coastlines in February, September, and December last year, and again in April and July this year. Each patrol signals the Kremlin's intent to flex power and test U.S. defenses in one of the most geopolitically sensitive regions on Earth. Is Moscow's nuclear bomber mission a mere exercise or a deliberate message in an escalating game of strategic brinkmanship? As Trump convenes world leaders in Washington, the growing shadow of Russian military moves is sending a clear and loud message. We are watching.
Now, the war in Ukraine has taken a fiery new turn. Russia has launched devastating strikes on Ukrainian cities. Sumy is the latest target of Russian aerial attacks. Russia also continues to gain ground, breaking through Ukrainian defenses. And Ukraine, on the other hand, has been sending swarms of drones deep inside Russia. And all this as talks to end the war gains momentum. Now, here's a report that explains more.
the fury of a Russian attack. A massive drone strike on the southern Ukrainian region caused a huge fire. Similar scenes of destruction are emerging from Sumy, which came under heavy attack. The sheer scale of the attack using a concentrated drone swarm suggests a new tactic in Russia's relentless aerial campaign. On the front lines, Moscow continues to press. Russia is throwing everything into the fight. Every day, Russia claims it is capturing new ground. Ukraine's defenders, stretched thin, now face a relentless opponent backed by superior firepower. The Russian Defense Ministry claims that over 1,300 Ukrainian soldiers were killed in a single day of fighting, claims which can't be verified in the fog of war. Ukraine, on the other hand, continues to strike back hard. A Ukrainian drone attack knocked out power to areas of Zaporizhzhia region, which is under Russian control. NATO, on the other hand, convened an emergency meeting. Leaders debate fresh security guarantees for Ukraine. But critics say without boots on the ground or ironclad air cover, Ukraine's allies risk falling behind Russia's battlefield tempo. And for that to happen, American support is most crucial. Bureau Report, Beyond World is One.
President Donald Trump's efforts to end the war in Ukraine may be hitting a setback. Trump said there could be a meeting between President Zelensky and Vladimir Putin within a couple of weeks, but Russia is now suggesting that won't happen soon.
Today, Russia all but ruled out a meeting between President Putin and President Zelensky anytime soon. This after the White House said Putin promised President Trump that the meeting would happen in a matter of weeks.
Did Putin promise to do a meeting with Zelensky, a direct meeting, in the coming weeks?
He has.
Overnight, Vice President J.D. Vance said a Zelensky-Putin meeting should take place even if there is no agreement on the terms of a peace deal.
I think the president's preference and my preference would be, let's have them meet regardless. We shouldn't say that they can't sit down until you've figured out every little detail. Sometimes them sitting down is what facilitates figuring out those details.
But hours after Vance said that, Russia flatly rejected the idea. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov saying the only way Putin would sit down with Zelensky is if, quote, all issues requiring consideration at the highest level are thoroughly worked out first. Lavrov suggests that would require a long process of lower-level meetings to hammer out the details. Meanwhile, Russia continues to bombard Ukraine, launching more than 600 drone and ballistic missile attacks in just the last 24 hours, according to the Ukrainian Air Force. Zelensky said today Moscow's strategy is clear. Quote, they are trying to wriggle out of the need to hold a meeting. They do not want to end this war. Today, President Trump was asked if a peace deal is still possible.
I would say within 2 weeks we're going to know one way or the other. After that, we'll have to maybe take a different tack. But we'll see. But we'll know pretty soon.
The White House had said that Russia had agreed that there would be security guarantees for Ukraine in any peace deal. But the Russian foreign minister is now saying that Russia would have to have a say in those security arrangements, an idea that is seen as absurd because the whole point of the security guarantees is to protect Ukraine from another Russian invasion. Jonathan Karl, ABC News, the White House.
The U.S. State Department has approved an $850 million arms deal with Ukraine. Now let's take a look at the details with my colleague Hem Kaur Saroya. Over to you, Hem.
Right. The Pentagon says the U.S. State Department has approved an $850 million arms deal with Ukraine, and this includes the sale of extended range attack munition or ERAM missiles to Kyiv, providing a powerful tool as the country continues to face a relentless assault by Russia.
According to one of the manufacturers, the potential sale of 3,350 ERAM missiles includes GPS-guided kits and electronic warfare defenses. The missiles, which have a range of several hundred kilometers, are reportedly set to arrive in Ukraine in about 6 weeks' time. Let's take a closer look at the ERAM missile. It's a next-generation air-launched precision-guided weapon rapidly developed to meet Ukraine's battlefield needs. The ERAM combines the explosive force of a heavy bomb with the long-range capabilities of a cruise missile. This delivers both reach and accuracy in high-threat environments. Now, ERAM's operational range, which varies between 240 to 450 kilometers, depending on the flight profile, enables it to engage high-value targets in occupied Crimea, Russian supply depots in the Donbass, and strategic positions well inside Russian territory. Equipped with a 500-pound high-explosive warhead, the missile is designed to neutralize hardened bunkers, fuel depots, and ammunition storage sites. Furthermore, the integration of GPS, inertial navigation systems, and a terminal seeker, it ensures targeting accuracy within 10 meters despite potential electronic interference from Russian forces. ERAM's launch platforms are compact and modular, allowing it to be mounted on Western fighter jets like the F-16s. Now, Ukraine is also receiving or potentially retrofitted onto existing Soviet-era aircrafts. This makes it a missile designed not only for long-range strikes, but also for precision and scalable deployment. Now, according to reports, Ukraine will fund the purchase using contributions from Denmark, the Netherlands, and Norway, along with foreign military financing from the United States. The missile reflects NATO's cooperation into a powerful, rapidly deployable weapon system. So that's what we do know about the ERAMs that are to be deployed so far. It's back to you, Diksha.
We turn overseas tonight, 2 weeks after President Trump hosted Vladimir Putin at the Alaska summit aimed at achieving a ceasefire. Russia pounded Ukraine with one of the fiercest assaults of the war. Here's ABC's chief international correspondent, James Longman.
The death toll is rising tonight after one of the biggest Russian attacks on Ukraine since the start of the war. This is the moment a Russian missile slammed into a residential neighborhood in Kyiv. Seconds later, another hit. Apartment buildings turned into rubble and ash, seen in video circulating online. More than 600 drones and missiles fired on multiple targets across the country. This cafe destroyed. Air raid sirens blaring for 11 hours. More than 20 people killed, including 4 children. A 2-year-old among them. This catastrophic attack comes less than 2 weeks after President Trump and Vladimir Putin met in Alaska in an effort to stop the war. But Putin apparently had a different kind of diplomacy in mind. Today, targeting critical buildings that house the European Union's mission in Ukraine, the British Council, and other foreign embassies. Tonight, President Zelensky says this was not only a strike on Ukraine, but on Europe and President Trump as well. And Rachel, there are serious doubts tonight about whether that Putin-Zelensky meeting will happen anytime soon, let alone an end to this war. Rachel?
All right, James, thank you.